Tomorrow is Bill and Catherine's wedding day. May they have a long and happy life together and always keep their sense of humor. They will obviously need it.
Why do people get married? First thing that comes to my mind when I hear that question is for love. Maybe an age-old term to use, but people marry because they want to spend the rest of their lives with somebody. They want the house and the white picket fence and the 2.3 kids and a dog.
For me, it was the realization that I wanted to be with Renee and I wanted to live with Renee, and so marriage was the way my desires could be fulfilled.
This kind of commitment, however, was not always the basis for marriage.
Historically, marriage came together not for love, not for intimacy, not for connection. It came together for establishing power, establishing property, establishing bloodlines.
In other words, a kind of obligatory behavior pattern that was stamped on you by society.
If I get married and have a lot of kids, then a lot of people can work on the farm or can work in the family business, and our physical survival is guaranteed.
So originally and historically, marriage is an economic bargain.
And you knew just what to do, and it was written in the law. And anyway, the law said you couldn't break it, so you married for life.
Doing your duty, living with your family, and getting along, but that didn't mean that you felt particularly close to your partner.
Marriages were typically arranged. The parents or the grandparents arranged the marriage. That still goes on in much of the world.
The idea that marriage was based on love and intimacy and a good sexual relationship over many decades was not what people expected.
People marry for a variety of reasons. In today's society, most people would say they marry for happiness. The question is, where do they get the idea that marriage would make them happy?
When me and Thomas got engaged, I knew that my marriage was not going to be like my mother's because he didn't drink. He didn't do any type of drugs. And so I thought my marriage was really going to be different, and it was.
Melissa decided she wanted to get married, and I wanted it to be special for her. I felt like she deserved this special moment in her life.
And her mother and I went in together and gave her the wedding. You know, I thought if it worked out, it'd be worth it.
When I got pregnant, I went on first shift, and he still stayed on second. We really didn't get to see each other that much. And after Dylan was born, and I don't know, it's just like we just didn't know each other anymore.
How we look at marriage today as the ultimate vehicle for emotional fulfillment. I don't think a lot of people can step back and say, am I really ready to get married? Do I know what this even means? Do I know myself well enough to enter into this type of commitment, to even know what will make me happy?
Well, we're doing the...
So I think some of the confusion and some of the difficulty we're seeing with the divorce rate today is people entering into marriage, expecting it to bring a type of happiness it's not necessarily able to deliver.
Okay. Finalized guest list, I think we have, right?
Yeah.
For good or for bad, expectations often set the stage for the marriage that follows.
My father worked and supported us, and my mother was home, cooking wonderful dinners and entertaining, and a lot of friends coming over, and I expected to have children, and just a rehash of what I had lived.
Exactly. I expected to have children. I expected Renee to bring up the children as my career took me more and more away from being at home. That was my expectation.
Anytime you have expectations, you can be disappointed. However, most expectations are met. I'll have a partner, we'll have a place to live, our incomes will be shared, we'll have children together. Most of those things do happen to people who get married. What expectations are not met are things like, I'll be loved forever by this person. Well, maybe not. Or we'll always be happy. Well, maybe not. Well, sex will be wonderful for 40 years. Well, maybe not.
Matt Dunn giving me a 3rd degree.
My experience, and maybe it is biased because I'm a marriage family therapist, is that most people are very surprised as to what married life is actually like. And I think from the outside perspective, it looks one way, and from the inside, it is very different.
Carl Rogers, the famous psychologist, once interviewed a couple, and they had been living together for 18 months and had gotten married, and they were married for 6 months. And he asked them, what's different now that you're married? And the man said, nothing, we just got married. The woman said, well, one thing I believe is, before we were married, we chose each other anew each day. And now we're married and everything's expected.
This person will always make me happy, that I'll never have to work at this relationship. It will just unfold.
And I think that's the greatest misperception of all, is that it takes a lot more conscious effort, and that you're going to be pushed and pulled in different ways to grow and to find a way to move forward in a loving way with this other person.
I think that kids, younger kids, 18, 20-year-old kids, have some kind of inflated expectation of what marriage is all about.
Those little quirks that when you're young, you might think you're going to change about someone. I knew what Roger's quirks were, and he, I think, knew what mine were, and we just accepted each other and enjoyed each other, and I liked Roger as well as really loved Roger, and I admired many, many qualities about him, and thought he'd be a good provider and a good friend, and he has been all that and more.
Just because a couple has exchanged I-do's doesn't guarantee marital bliss, as the high rate of divorce reflects. But if the relationship is based on qualities like compatibility, flexibility, and emotional support, the chance for success is greater.
If a couple came to me for therapy and said, how can we ensure a long-term marriage, I would say you can't. Nobody can ensure it. The only things you can do are, you can honestly relive the reason you got married constantly. In other words, keep alive the reason you fell in love with the other person.
A lot of couples stop dating once they get married because we don't need to date because we're married. And, well, I think that's a really dangerous myth also, is that you still need to nurture that couple relationship, especially when the children come into the picture.
We didn't have to plan to make a date. We just automatically knew that on the weekends we were going to do something. We were going out. We traveled everywhere. We went to the Olympics. We went to wonderful, wonderful places because of his business.
It sounds so simple, but a lot of couples drop that ball. And they just expect, well, we're at home, we see each other every day. This is what we've always wanted, so we don't need to do all that other stuff.
Another important part of a happy marriage is balance. And when I use the word balance, I'm referring to finding balance in your life as an individual and as a partner. So many times I'll hear an individual say, I've lost myself. I don't do the things I used to love to do. And that leads to resentment towards their mate, because they feel somehow now they can't do things they love or that they were passionate about.
I think I just lost my appetite.
He had his interests when he was home. He loves sports. He loves to watch sports. And so we just watch television separately.
You can't try to inflict your likes on the other person and say, you must like this, and how dare you not. So we allowed each other that freedom.
It's not only the space couples give each other that's important, it's also the kinds of interactions that take place.
About 8 or 9 years ago, some research came out from John Gottman, who's a researcher up in the Pacific Northwest, saying that there was a 5-to-1 rule. Couples that had 5 positive interactions to every 1 negative interaction seemed to stay together.
And most people think if we balance it out, we get 50-50, we're 1-to-1 ratio, we're good. And it's interesting that for human beings, for us to maintain safe, emotionally safe relationships, we need a lot more positive than we do negative.
One reason why marriage is so fragile today is because Marriage, for the first time in this new personal view of marriage, has become a close friendship between a man and a woman. And that's very difficult for a lot of people, especially men. The man has a different approach to love and to conflict resolution than the woman does.
The man comes home and says, I want to go into my cave. And the woman says, let's talk. And the man says, talk? We did that when we were dating. Why do we need to talk? Well, of course that's ridiculous.
We can't afford to eat out more than once a week. You know that.
The research is very clear. Arguing can be part of a very healthy, vibrant relationship, but it needs to be productive argument where there's a minimal amount of name-calling and real criticizing and harsh words, but they actually resolve whatever it is. It doesn't come back up in the argument next week, next month, 5 years later. It has to be a very productive and effective way of communicating and engaging the other and resolving conflict.
I think one of the challenges that caused disagreements more than truly arguments in the first years of our marriage was communication issues. Probably typical wife when you get dinner on at 6:30 and you're expecting your husband to come home about 6:30 and he shows up at 8 and didn't call, not good.
Hi, baby, I'm home. But you know how we guys think. It's 6 o'clock and you know you're not going to be home till 8. And you can pick up the phone and have an argument then and when you get home at 8, or you could just be home at 8 and have one argument. But, communication is, I think it's just tough between men and women. I think we're just built differently in this regard because women want to talk it out and men just want to, let's put it behind us and go on and forget about it.
Couples tend to fight a lot about money, sex, kids, and I would say increasingly time and how it's spent.
Forget the toaster.
And when it comes down to it, what couples are always arguing about is how are we defining this relationship right now? And that is why we can have knockdown, drag-em-out fights about laundry, trash, and, the smallest little things. And we don't usually end up being very productive sometimes if we're arguing content-level stuff while trying to negotiate how we're defining the relationship.
There's nothing to say that we didn't get crazy at times like that. It happens,
She has a good left hook.
We talked about that you'd go and you wouldn't go to the thing tomorrow night.
Come on, I can't go. I'd love to.
Researcher John Gottman has found that successful couples avoid using destructive tactics when they argue. Tactics like criticism, contempt, defensiveness, or stonewalling.
Don't walk out. You're always walking out. Get back here.
Because if you're criticizing someone, they're not going to be listening much to you. You're attacking them. It'll raise their defensiveness, so they'll start shutting down. If you treat them with contempt, which is even worse than criticism is, I don't like what you do. Contempt is, I don't like who you are. There's nowhere to go with that. I don't like who you are. Well, then you can't be with me. And stonewalling, just the avoidance, the withdrawal, which many men do in relationship. I'm overloaded, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do anymore. They just button up.
See you later.
It's like, talking to a wall then.
Even though we've been together for 40 years, Renee is her own person and I am my own person. So there is going to be conflict. What we have learned in the 40 years is how to deal with that so that the solution is a constructive solution as opposed to a destructive one.
I just have a hard time with you being involved with that.
Fair fighting is an art, and I think there are many ways to have productive arguments. And some couples, they have very intense periods of bonding and feeling close and very passionate.
Sounds great.
And then there are times when they argue, they can get loud. But they're usually not personally attacking people, using lots of criticisms and very hurtful things, and usually not bringing up things from the past. But they are expressing their emotions, their thoughts, and their feelings, and they're able to resolve that in a way where both people feel heard, loved, and respected at the end.
You say 6:30, I asked you 3 times, what time would you be home?
One of the nice things about the few times that we do argue is that I may have a passionate point or something that I wish was different, but it's important to me that we compromise because I want Roger equally happy. I don't really want it all my way. As a matter of fact, can't stand it when I just get my way. It's no fun.
It's quite a revelation.
Don't tell my husband.
Most couples agree that marriage is seldom static. It tends to go through various phases and stages. During the early years of marriage, newlyweds settle into their new positions as husband and wife.
A married couple without children get used to a pretty free lifestyle where they can do whatever they want, and then suddenly the child comes and it completely upsets their apple cart. And we're finding that the arrival of the first child opens up the least happy time in the career of a marriage.
Typically the mother, but sometimes also the father kind of falls into this pattern where all of their energies get focused onto the child and being a parent. And that at that point, the marriage, the couple relationship gets very little attention. Often it's a fork in the road, and if you don't take care of the marriage at this point, that the longevity of the marriage is really in jeopardy.
When we were living in Brooklyn and had 3 children, we had built-in babysitters. We had my parents. So we had great freedom to go out whenever we wanted. I think that helped us a tremendous amount. It got us out of the house, it got us away from our kids, and our kids away from us, which I think is necessary. It allowed us to do things together that we enjoyed. It allowed us to grow.
Married couples today often find themselves sharing roles in ways that would not have been considered a generation or two ago.
When we found out Robin was pregnant with twins, it was incredibly exciting. At the same time, I knew it was going to be a big adjustment. You know, we had been a couple. We had come together and enjoyed the busy lives that we had. We were able to balance and juggle things in terms of our schedules, knowing when we were coming and going. And I knew as soon as the babies arrived, we could never be gone at the same time. And we'd have to find a way to be effective in our jobs if we both continued to work, but at the same time be effective parents.
25 years ago, if we look at mothers of kids 6 and under, there were a third that were in the labor force, and now it's 2/3. So 2/3 of them also work full-time. Now, women have always worked. I mean, that hasn't changed, but they've worked on farms where the workplace and the home were together. They've worked where there were other kin available to help out. And what we're seeing now is women moving into the labor force, and the workplace is separate from the home. Kin are also now working, so Aunt Emma isn't available to babysit. And we're seeing a government and a set of companies that have not really taken up the challenge to ease the strain. And so we're in what I call a stalled revolution.
We've got this dramatic change outside the home in terms of women's economic roles, but change inside the home has been much slower coming.
Women do 2 or 3 times as much housework as men do in general, but things are changing. Men have doubled their contributions in the last 10 years to housework. They're doing even a larger proportion of the child care.
I remember one person breaking up a marriage. The woman accused him of never helping with the children and never helping with the carpooling and all that. And he said, well, what do I do when you do those things? Am I sitting around watching television? No, I'm cutting the lawn, I'm trimming the trees. It's role, he said. It's role. You take that role, I take this role. You want to switch roles, he said? Okay. So in this era, in the 21st century, the roles we play have to be looked at freshly, uniquely, and not as an old traditional thing that we must do.
And the major finding of the second shift was that those couples, and there were 1 out of 5, 20%, where men did share the work at home, were the happiest couples. Those were the ones where there wasn't a strain, in fact. And it could be a chicken, it could be an egg. It could be that the happier couples, he's rolling up his sleeves and does so lovingly. So that it could be a cause, it could be an effect.
I'd say we have to equally contribute, or
nothing gets done. And especially with having 2 babies, there's never been this expectation that I would be the one that is the sole care provider. You know, he's been involved from day one, helping in the middle of the night with feedings or changing diapers, bathing, whatever the needs of the twins are. It's both of us.
Okay, let me stand back now. Don't hit me.
At each stage of a child's growth and development, there are challenges and adjustments to be made. But eventually, that child will be ready to launch his own life as an adult.
When the children eventually leave, that empty nest phase can be a very painful phase, and the couple can sit there and look at each other and go, who are you and why are we here?
Non-cannibalistic.
On the other hand, you will see couples who are able to really keep their marriages strong while parenting. But as the children leave, there's often a real blossoming of the marriage.
We had our own interests. And so when the children left, and we were alone for a little while in the very beginning, all 3 were gone, and it was so
wonderful.
nice. We
terrific.
enjoyed it.
Couples often describe this middle stage of their married life as not better or worse, just different.
It's not a negative difference, but it's like many things in life, you can only do some things once, first. The first kiss, the first time you go to kindergarten, the first, romance, whatever it may be. But I think in our case, in my opinion, our relationship has just evolved. We know each other better, and our partnership is stronger. There's times, when we do that old married thing.
I'll come in and say, honey, where's that thingy? And she'll say, oh, it's downstairs. She knows what I'm talking about. It's downstairs in that top drawer. Oh, just where I left it. Sure. But I mean, things change when you're first dating somebody. There's some chemical thing that goes on in your head. I think your body's releasing endorphins like, at some fever pitch. And it's just not something that can be maintained for years. So that sort of thing changes, but I think that it's replaced with something, at least it has been in our marriage, replaced with something that's better, if that's possible. It's like a comfort. It's like a trust that you can almost think in no other relationship do you have that kind of trust in someone else. So those are all good things to have too.
Absolutely.
Being in a loving, committed relationship such as marriage does have benefits on health, and especially in terms of longevity, but also in weathering serious physical ailments.
I've had cancer a couple of times, and Bruce has always been with me and helped me through it.
Those are things that, are part of life. And Renee and I took very seriously the vows that we took back in 1966, for richer or poorer in sickness and in health. So, it wasn't even a thought of not doing what love suggested one do when one's partner was faced with the things that Renee was faced with.
Marriage provides a whole range of benefits for individuals, the individuals involved and those around them. And those are health, physical health, long life, emotional well-being, sexual satisfaction, better outcomes for kids, career benefits, and more money. And that sort of covers everything, right?
As couples age, their long-term relationship reverts in some respects to the closeness they had in their earlier years. It's a time when they can focus on each other, their health and well-being, and the richness of their life together.
One of the cards that we got when we got married was from a family friend, a friend of my parents, and she said marriage is not a 50-50 proposition, it's 100-100. If you put in 50%, you can expect to get 50%. So if you expect 100%, you better put in 100%. And it's work. And it's not easy work. I expected that we would be successful and stay together for 40 years because we worked at it.
And it doesn't seem like 40 years. It's like we got married 10 years ago.
Yesterday.
That's how I feel.
Yesterday.
We're on this journey through life together, and there's no one I'd rather go through the journey with. Respect for each other is really important, I think. We have arguments, of course, but arguments don't last long with us because we do respect each other. You know, sometimes I think, God, I'm starting to get tears in my eyes.
You always do.
Sometimes I think what makes our marriage work is that both of us want for the other more than we want for ourselves.
Sweet.
And I agree with you, honey.
I think that is right.
Our Families Ourselves is an 18-part series about marriages and families. For information on this program and accompanying materials, call 1-800-576-2988 or visit us online